I told him a real man could give me a baby. That's literally what I said to his face. When I found out I'm Thea, and I was 26 when my whole life plan got wrecked because my husband couldn't do the one thing he was supposed to. Look, I know how that sounds, but you have to understand where I was coming from. Graham and I had been married for 2 years, and things were fine. Not amazing, not terrible, just fine. He was 34, working as an assistant manager at a medical supply company, and we were living in this cramped 2-bedroom apartment because he was being responsible with our money, whatever that means. I'd been off birth control for 8 months and nothing was happening. Every month, another negative test, another disappointment. My friend Lainey got pregnant literally the first month she tried with her husband, and here I was, peeing on sticks like some kind of science experiment. Graham kept saying we needed to be patient, but I could tell something was off. I finally convinced him to get tested, and oh my God, the way he dragged his feet about it. It's probably just stress, he'd say, or, these things take time, babe. But I knew, deep down. I think I already knew. The day we got the results, I watched his face crumble as the doctor explained about his severely low sperm count and something about motility. I just sat there, feeling this weird mix of vindication and absolute fury. All those months of him telling me to relax, to let it happen naturally, and it turns out he was the problem all along. The drive home was silent. I kept looking at him, really looking at him for the first time in a while. His receding hairline that he was so insecure about, the way his shirts were fitting a little tighter around the middle lately, the Toyota Camry he refused to upgrade because it was still running fine. Everything I'd been overlooking suddenly felt like evidence that I'd settled. He tried to hold my hand when we got home, saying we could look into treatments or start saving for IVF, but all I could think about was how we could barely afford our current life on his salary. The way he was still working toward that promotion he'd been talking about since we met. How all my friends' husbands seemed to have their lives figured out by 34. Thea, we'll figure this out, he kept saying, following me around our tiny apartment like a lost puppy. There are options. We're in this together. Together, right? Like we were in this together when he waited so long to get tested? Like we were in this together when he chose to stay in his safe, going-nowhere job instead of taking risks to give us a better life? Like we were in this together when he apparently couldn't do the one biological thing a husband is supposed to do? I locked myself in our second bedroom, the one that was supposed to be a nursery by now, and started scrolling through Instagram. Lainey had posted another bump update. Camille was at her son's soccer game. Even Taylor, who got married 6 months after us, was already planning her baby shower. And there I was, stuck with a defective husband in a mediocre apartment, watching my fertile years tick away while he talked about looking into options. I'd done everything right. Got married, waited until we were stable, played the good wife. For what? To find out I'd hitched my wagon to a man who couldn't even give me a family. That night, lying in bed next to him, I could feel him wanting to talk about it, but I just turned away and pretended to sleep. All I could think about was how young I still was, how many of my eggs were still viable, how many actual men out there could give me what I wanted without needing a medical team and a small fortune. I love you, he whispered into the darkness, his voice cracking a little. I didn't answer. I was already mentally calculating how long it would take to start over with someone new. The next few weeks were honestly pathetic. Graham kept leaving fertility clinic brochures on the kitchen counter, like little paper reminders of his failure. He'd circle the success rates in blue pen as if that would make me feel better about dropping 50 grand we didn't have on something that might not even work. I started going out more with my girls, needing to escape his sad puppy dog eyes following me around our apartment. That's when things got really eye-opening. We were at this new rooftop bar downtown, and Lainey, 7 months pregnant and glowing, asked how we were doing with the baby journey. He's basically shooting blanks, I blurted out, the Moscow Mule making me extra honest. And now he wants us to blow our savings on fertility treatments instead of, getting a better job or moving us out of that shoebox apartment. The table got quiet, like uncomfortable quiet. Camille gave me this look, the one where someone's judging you but trying to hide it. That's really personal information about Graham, she said, stirring her water with this holier-than-thou expression. What? It's not like it's a secret, I shot back. Besides, your husband managed to knock you up twice by 30 on a firefighter salary. Just saying. That's when the texts started coming from Graham. Miss you, hope you're having fun. Thinking about that fertility specialist Dr. Roberts recommended. I left him on red, watching my friends with their perfect lives, their functioning husbands, their growing families. It was just making everything crystal clear. At home, Graham was getting desperate. He picked up extra shifts, like that would somehow fix his broken swimmers. Started taking all these supplements that made the bathroom smell like a GNC. He even suggested moving in with his parents temporarily to save money for treatments, as if I wasn't humiliated enough by the situation. A real man would figure out how to fix this without asking his mommy and daddy for help. I snapped when he brought it up again. The look on his face, like I'd slapped him, should have made me feel bad. Instead, it just irritated me more. How dare he act hurt when he was the one who couldn't give me what I needed? I started noticing everything wrong with him. The way he chewed too loud, how he never got that promotion he kept talking about, the fact that he still played video games on weekends instead of networking or looking for better jobs. His entire existence was just one big testament to mediocrity. My mom tried to talk some sense into me. Marriage is about more than babies, Thea. Graham adores you. He's stable, kind, faithful. He's a dud, Mom, I interrupted. And I'm not about to waste my prime years playing nurse to his broken ego while my biological clock ticks away. That night I watched him sleeping, thinking about how different my life could have been if I just held out for someone better. Someone who could actually provide the life I deserved. Someone whose body could do what it was supposed to do. Graham rolled over, reaching for me in his sleep like he always did. I moved away, disgusted. Not just by him anymore, but by myself, for settling for this half-life when I could have had everything. I filed for divorce on a Tuesday. There's something you should know about ending a marriage. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. You just have to do it fast and deal with the sting later. I had it all planned out. The papers were ready. I'd already lined up a new apartment, and my girls were on standby for emotional support. Not that I'd need it. Graham came home from work that day, all excited about some new fertility treatment he'd found online. He was literally pulling up websites on his phone when I dropped the manila envelope on our IKEA coffee table. The look on his face, like someone had just punched him in the stomach, almost made me feel bad. Almost. What is this? His hands were shaking when he picked up the envelope, as if he didn't know exactly what divorce papers look like. I think we both know this isn't working, I said, using the calm voice I'd practiced in the mirror. I'm not willing to waste any more time on maybes and what-ifs. He just sat there, reading the same page over and over, like some kind of broken robot. But we haven't even tried the treatments yet. Dr. Roberts said there's a good chance. A good chance of what, Graham? I snapped. Of spending money we don't have on treatments that might not work, while I watch all my friends start their families? While you're still assistant managing your way to nowhere? That's when he started crying. Actually crying, like tears running down his face, shoulders shaking, the whole pathetic display. It just confirmed everything I'd been thinking. He wasn't the man I thought I married. I know I'm not perfect, he choked out, but I love you. We can work through this. Please, please don't do this. Love isn't enough, I told him, feeling weirdly calm. I need a real partner. Someone who can actually give me a family. Someone who's actually going somewhere in life. He followed me around the apartment while I packed my pre-planned overnight bag, throwing out desperate suggestions like a drowning man grabbing at straws. Marriage counseling, second opinions, moving to a cheaper city, taking out loans. With each suggestion, I felt more justified in my decision. You're still young, he said finally, his voice hollow. You could find someone else. Start over. Is that what this is about? The fact that he'd figured it out just made me angry. Oh, so now you get it? Yes, Graham, I am still young. I do still have options. And I'm not going to let your condition ruin my chances of having the life I deserve. The look he gave me, like I'd just confirmed his worst fears, should have broken my heart. Instead, I felt relieved. Finally, the truth was out there. No more pretending his mediocrity was enough. No more acting like his fertility issues weren't a deal-breaker. I never thought you were this person, he whispered as I headed for the door. I turned back one last time, my hand on the doorknob. Maybe you just never knew me at all. Walking out of that apartment, I felt lighter than I had in months. Sure, my mom would freak out. Sure, some of our friends would judge me. But I was 26, hot, and now free to find someone who could actually give me the life I deserved. The first 6 months of freedom were exactly what I expected. My new apartment was tiny but cute, decorated exactly how I wanted without Graham's boring, practical input. No more beige walls or sensible furniture choices. I filled my Instagram with living my best life posts, rooftop brunches, girls' nights out, yoga classes I barely attended. Dating apps were an experience. Being 26 and divorced isn't exactly what these guys are looking for, but whatever. I had my bio down to a science. Ambitious professional seeking her equal. Know my worth. Ready for a real future with the right man. The first guy I dated post-divorce was this investment banker named Chase. Gorgeous, penthouse, Range Rover, the whole package. 3 dates in, he ghosted me after I mentioned wanting kids within the next year. The next one, a surgeon named Michael, turned out to be married. Then came Derek, who lived with 4 roommates at 35 but swore his crypto investments were about to pay off. Meanwhile, Graham had the nerve to start posting about his healing journey on Facebook. All these inspirational quotes and photos of him at the gym. Our mutual friends kept bringing him up. How well he was doing, how he'd gotten that promotion he'd been working toward. Of course, now that I was gone. How he was really working on himself. He started dating someone. Camille told me over coffee one day, studying my reaction like I was some kind of science experiment. She's really sweet. A kindergarten teacher. Good for him, I said, scrolling through my dating apps. Hope she's okay with never having kids. Camille gave me that look again, the one that said she was judging me but trying to hide it. You know, Thea, there are other ways to have a family. Adoption, surrogacy. I want my own kids. I cut her off. With a man who can actually provide for them. Is that too much to ask? But 6 months turned into 9, and my DMs were filled with gym bros and guys living with their parents. Every date felt like a job interview where I was both the interviewer and the candidate. Too aggressive about wanting kids? They disappeared. Too vague about my timeline? I wasted weeks on guys who weren't sure about marriage. My mom wasn't helping. You had a good man who loved you, she'd say during our weekly calls. Maybe if you'd given those treatments a chance. He was barely making ends meet, Mom. The treatments would have bankrupted us. Besides, I deserve someone who can give me a baby naturally. But late at night, scrolling through dating apps, I started doing the math. I was almost 27. It would take at least a year to find someone serious. Another year of dating before marriage, and then who knows how long to actually get pregnant. The timeline was getting tight. Then came the photo that made my stomach drop. Graham at some rooftop bar, his arm around a pretty blonde. He looked different, happier, fitter. The caption read, "When you know, you know." Number blessed. I blocked him immediately, threw my phone across the room, ordered pizza and wine delivery, and told myself I was still young, still hot, still had plenty of time to find my perfect match. The right guy was out there, someone successful, fertile, ready to start a family right away. He had to be. Because the alternative that I'd thrown away a good thing for a fantasy wasn't something I was ready to face. I found out about Graham's adoption through Lainey's Instagram story, of all things. There he was, standing next to that kindergarten teacher wife of his, Elise, holding a tiny baby girl wrapped in a pink blanket. The caption read, "Congratulations to the new parents. Love finds a way." I wasn't stalking, okay? I just happened to be scrolling through stories while getting my nails done when it popped up. But seeing them there, looking so disgustingly happy with their store-bought baby, made me want to throw my phone across the salon. 2 years. It had been 2 years since I walked out, and what did I have to show for it? A string of failed situationships with guys who either couldn't commit or didn't meet my standards. Meanwhile, Graham, my supposedly inadequate ex, had somehow transformed into this whole new person. "Did you see?" Camille texted me that night. They named her Emma. The adoption agency matched them right away because of their stability and Graham's promotion to regional director. Regional director. The position he'd been working toward when I left. The one I'd told him he'd never get because he was too passive, too content with mediocrity. Now he was probably making double what he used to, living in a real house instead of that apartment, raising some other woman's baby like it was some kind of victory. I made the mistake of looking at his wife's profile. Elise. Pretty in that wholesome, natural way that made me want to scream. Her posts were all about their adoption journey and how love makes a family and other Pinterest-worthy garbage. And the comments, full of our old friends, gushing about what amazing parents they'd be. Whatever, I told my reflection as I applied my third face mask of the week. They're probably just pretending to be happy. And who wants a kid that isn't even yours? I bet she secretly resents that she'll never have his biological child. But the photos kept coming. Graham pushing Emma on a swing, his face lit up with this joy I'd never seen when we were together. Elise and Emma in matching Christmas pajamas. Family picnics in the park where we used to walk our dog, the one Graham kept in the divorce because I couldn't have pets in my new place. I was 28 now, and the dating scene was getting worse, not better. The good ones my age were taken, the older ones wanted someone younger, and the younger ones weren't ready to settle down. Every first date felt like a job interview where I was overqualified and desperate at the same time. Maybe you should consider freezing your eggs, my mom suggested during one of our wine-fueled FaceTime sessions. Or be open to dating single dads. They've proven they can commit. I'm not raising someone else's kids, I snapped, pouring another glass. I deserve my own family, my own baby, with a man who can actually give me one. But later that night, scrolling through Graham's family photos, I felt something crack inside me. They looked complete, happy. Like the life I'd walked away from had somehow become better after I left. The apartment I'd called a shoebox was now a beautiful home. The man I'd called inadequate was now successful and thriving. The fertility issue I'd seen as a deal-breaker had led them to a perfect little girl who adored them. I blocked them all that night, Graham, Elise, even our mutual friends who kept sharing their perfect little life. I posted a thirst trap on Instagram with some quote about leveling up and knowing your worth. But alone in my bed, staring at my birth control free period tracking app that I still somehow kept, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd made a terrible mistake. It's funny how the universe has this way of just absolutely destroying your life while everyone else seems to be living their best fairy tale. I'm 33 now, and I'm sitting in this fertility specialist's office, not the same one Graham and I went to, obviously staring at charts that might as well be in Chinese. Your AMH levels are concerning, the doctor says. Like she's telling me my horoscope and not shattering my entire future. And combined with your age, conception would be challenging, even with intervention. The irony isn't lost on me. 5 years after leaving my husband because he couldn't give me a baby, here I am, learning that my own body is now the problem. The doctor keeps talking about options and time-sensitive decisions, but all I can think about is Graham's Instagram page that I definitely don't check anymore, except when I'm drunk and feeling masochistic. He has 2 kids now. They adopted another baby last year, a little boy this time. Their perfect little store-bought family, living in their perfect house with their perfect life. Meanwhile, I'm dropping $3,000 just to find out my eggs are basically expired. Have you considered donor eggs? The doctor asks. And I want to scream. I didn't leave my husband just to raise someone else's genetic material. That's not how this was supposed to go. Last week, I ran into Camille at Whole Foods. She tried to avoid me, but I cornered her by the organic quinoa. Graham is starting his own business, she let slip, probably on purpose. Elise is so supportive. They're such a power couple. Power couple. That was supposed to be us. Well, not us, exactly, but me and whoever the universe had lined up after I was brave enough to leave my defective husband. Instead, I'm still single, still swiping through dating apps full of guys who either don't want kids or already have them with someone else. I looked into sperm donors last month, the same woman who couldn't stomach the idea of adoption because I wanted my own baby. But the costs are insane, and according to these tests, it probably wouldn't work anyway. The universe really has a sick sense of humor. My mom doesn't say I told you so, but I can hear it in her silence when I cry on the phone to her. She just sighs and says, "Everything happens for a reason, honey." Yeah, the reason is I threw away a good man because I thought I deserved better, and now I'm paying for it with my own fertility. The worst part? Graham and Elise are fostering now, too. They're like some kind of saints opening their home to kids who need families. The comments on their posts are nauseating, all about what amazing parents they are, how lucky those kids are, how they're such an inspiration. Meanwhile, I'm updating my dating profile again. Successful professional seeks partner for life's adventures. No mention of kids anymore. No timeline, no demands for a family. Just desperately hoping someone half-decent will settle for a 3-3-year-old with nothing to show for her prime years except a designer bag collection and a bitter attitude. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that day I told Graham a real man could give me a baby. How I walked out thinking I was choosing a better future. How sure I was that I deserved more. Now, here I am, realizing that maybe I was the one who wasn't enough. Not that I'd ever admit that out loud. But you want to know the real kicker? Even now, sitting in my empty apartment with these fertility test results that might as well be a death sentence for my dreams, I still can't bring myself to say I was wrong. Because if I admit that I threw away my shot at happiness because I was too proud, too entitled, too obsessed with having things exactly my way, then I have to face the fact that I did this to myself. And that's the one thing I'll never be ready for.